This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Hi, my name is Peter Tomasi.
Hi, this is James Tynan IV.
Hi, I'm Dan Jurgens.
Hey, I'm Dustin Wynn.
This is Jim Lehan.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Mark Hamill speaking.
This is Kevin Conroy.
This is Tim Sale.
Hello, everyone. I'm Batman, and you're listening to my podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Batman Universe Comic Podcast, Season 13, Episode 9. I'm your host, Ian, and I have with me here today.
This is Steph.
And this is Theo.
And we have two excellent comics to review today in Batman number 108 and Joker number 3. But we also have a bunch of news and Greater Gotham to get to. So let's get into the news right away. We're going to start with a fairly sad announcement. Jean-Paul Leon, one of the most popular artists of DC's stable, has unfortunately passed away. He was only about 59, quite young. And he's worked on a lot of very popular Batman works in the past, including a two-shot in Detective Comics back in the New 52, and the very popular collaboration with Kurt Busiek, Batman Creature of the Night, a 4-part miniseries that was completed. And it did take a long time, probably now that we know he had serious health issues because of those health issues. But the people who loved that series really loved it. So he's also scheduled to have the Batman Catwoman special released in July. Is it July or August? I think it must be August.
I think it's solicited for July. Yes, July, because I was looking at DC Connect the other day.
Okay. So he's scheduled for July, and that is going to be a prequel to the Batman Catwoman series about how Bruce and Selina's childhoods intersected, I believe is how the solicitation runs. But his cover is a very beautiful Christmas sort of abstract piece, and it'll probably be quite good. So sad news that a prominent artist with great talent has passed away. We hope that his family is doing all right, and his work will be missed, and I'm sure he will as well. In happier news, at least for one particular person on this podcast, the CW television show Batwoman just aired its 13th episode of the second season, called I'll Give You a Clue, and the title gives us a clue that the villain is the Clue Master. And when this was announced, many people thought, oh, this might be preparing the way for a Stephanie Brown appearance later. But no, Stephanie Brown appeared in the episode. She was one of the main characters guesting on the show, and she had a lot of interaction with Luke Fox, who is sort of the tech support. He's not Batwing in the show, but he is a very cool character. I should say, this is actually the only episode of the show I've ever watched. I'm not a big fan of the Arrowverse or the CW shows in general, but I came away actually kind of impressed. The writer, the co-writer of the episode, talked a lot about her love for Stephanie Brown's comics, so it wasn't just, knowing about them or reading, an episode summary in DC Encyclopedia or something. She clearly knows Batman Eternal and James Tynan's Detective Comics because this Stephanie Brown's very connected to those works. I really loved all the Easter eggs. Steph wore some purple with a hoodie, and she even hit someone in the face who turned out to be a romantic interest, which is a classic Stephanie Brown move way back from Detective Comics 648. The The one little downside I had was that she had red hair instead of blonde hair, but in terms of personality, backstory, and just the way that they integrated her into the story with Cluemaster, it was really fun. And it was funny because the Cluemaster thing really reminds me of the kind of villains you'd get in like the Batman 66 TV show. So it felt kind of classic, even though it also had a lot of modern, touches to it. I don't know if either of my co-hosts watches Batwoman, but I don't watch Batwoman normally, but Stephanie Brown appearing for the first time in live action, I had to be there, so I was.
I missed it. I will catch up on that later.
It is available on the CW's website for free with advertisements, but I've been watching Superman and Lois on the website, so I know that it works pretty well.
I missed it, and I will not be catching up on that.
Well, I was just polite.
Yeah.
I might watch it.
The number of CW shows have gone down to 2, and after the season is over, it'll be 1, and I'm not sure if I'll hang around for the last one either.
What are the ones? I assume Supergirl because it's ending, and what's the other one?
No, I don't watch Supergirl. Well, actually 3, but one's on hiatus. So I typically watch Black Lightning and The Flash. Don't ask why.
Okay.
Then,
and which one is ending?
Black Lightning is ending.
Oh, okay.
But I need to check and see when Superman and Lois comes back on.
It comes back next week. This is the last week that we're missing one, so I'm very excited because I love that show.
Yeah, I've actually been impressed with that show.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a CW show. It feels very well crafted in writing, and the visuals are great.
I am pleased they retconned a lot of stuff, although I wish they wouldn't have retconned some others. But it is what it is. But yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I do too. And I apologize to Dustin for making this a Superman Universe podcast for a second. But moving back to Batman news, we have one announcement which may indicate that solicits might be coming either at the end of this week. Actually, it might be coming at the end of this week, which would be really quick because solicits were so late for last month. But we have a Secret File Clown Hunter one-shot announced with Ed Brisson writing and Rosie Campe doing art. The solicit indicates that Clown Hunter will be coming face-to-face with Punchline, which is a very interesting state of affairs since Punchline's supposed to be in jail. But maybe the Punchline backup in Joker will lead to what's happening in this Clown Hunter one shot. What do you guys think about Clown Hunter and the creative team?
I'm only recently hearing about it. It's nice to see that they haven't forgot about Clown Hunter.
Well, it dropped today, so that's why you're only recently hearing about it.
So I am interested to see where Bao is going and how he gets to meet the ever lovable Punchline.
What do you think about your baby returning, Steph?
I'm glad they haven't forgot about him. I'm interested to see where they're going with him. Yeah, Punchline is evil. I imagine he wants her dead, but Batman doesn't want him to kill. So what's he gonna do? I don't know. I'll just wait and find out. I don't like setting up too many expectations because I don't like being disappointed. So just okay, sirrah. Let's see what happens and enjoy it. If it's terrible, then we won't enjoy it.
Well, I think that the concept is great because Clown Hunter and Punchline are easily connectable characters. Sort of two dark sides of the same Joker catastrophe. Ed Brisson has worked with James Tynion before on Batman and Robin Eternal. Unfortunately, I think he was the worst writer in that. I didn't think that his issues were particularly well done. Rosie Campe is an artist I've seen on the Ghost Spider-Gwen series, and their art was okay, but unfortunately it was compared to Takashi Miyazawa for me, and Takashi Miyazawa is one of my favorite artists, So I was a little less impressed with Rosie Campay's art. But it could be good. Hopefully they'll have lots of time to make it really polished and a high quality product, because these are longer and more expensive stories. So that's all the news for this week. If there are solicits at the end of the week, then of course we'll cover them in our next episode. In the meantime, let us get to our reviews, starting with Batman number 108.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Batman 108, written by James Tynion IV, art by Jorge Jimenez. In the future, Batman continues to struggle against Scarecrow's fear gas and to remember how he was captured. We flash back to the present, where Manacano honors Sean Mahoney, the one guard who survived A-Day and saved several people. Simon Saint approaches Mahoney to recruit him as Peacekeeper 1. Barbara sits in the clock tower monitoring the city and sees Scarecrow perching on the rooftops, waiting for Batman to check in from his mission as Matches Malone infiltrating the Unsanity Collective. Their leader, Mr. Wise, knows that Match is lying about his identity, but also that he's not a cop. Miracle Molly arrives, and Wise tells her to deal with Match. She walks into his cell, seeing right through his disguise, and giving him a real mask before taking him on a mini heliglider ride over the city. Simon Saint shows the Peacekeeper program to Sean Mahoney, and he embraces it wholeheartedly. As they soar through Gotham 2, the Joker War halted Wayne Enterprise rebuild of Gotham after the city of Bane, where the Unsanity Collective have set up nomadic shadow cities. Miracle Molly explains her philosophy of society: being detached, memory wiped, and upgraded, fighting the rich who have become non-human to her. She offers a vision to Batman unhampered by his past trauma. Batman asks why they have been hitting media companies to cause fear. And she reveals Simon Saint hired them, as we see Sean Mahoney transform painfully into the Peacekeeper.
This first part of Batman 108, the main story, how do you like the way that James Tynion is employing Barbara as Oracle in this story?
Well, she doesn't have her own book, so Joker and Batman are kind of the two books she's in, and neither of those are her book. So I think he's doing the best with her that he probably can, seeing as how she is no longer Batgirl, but Oracle, and not the main character of the book. So I think in this one, I mean, I don't want to say she's underutilized. She's underused if you're a Barbara Gordon fan, but I don't think the story is suffering from her lack of use. And so, I don't know. It's a long way to say I think it's fine. She's Oracle. She's basically MissGoogle.com /Batman. And she's just doing her Oracle thing. I don't know. I don't have the emotional investment in Barbara that some people doing, so it does not bother me that she's just Google right now.
So since she won't say it, I will. I think that Babs is being underutilized. And this is part of the problem where you have so many different characters that you want to employ in one book that it causes someone to suffer. And in this issue, it's Babs. We see her on that one page, and we pretty much don't hear from her anymore the rest of the issue. So overall, it's good seeing Babs back as Oracle, and I think there's been some good use of her. But for this issue, for someone as important as she is very underutilized.
I think that's a very fair analysis. I would also say that I would say in all of the Batman run, not in Joker, but we'll get to that later because I'm going to ask the same question about Joker. She hasn't really had any of her own goals that have led to plot. She has all these plans, and we see like world building things that she's doing, but none of it has mattered for the plot of the story, for the conflict. However, I would say you have Barbara noticing Scarecrow for the first time, and she actually sees Scarecrow. We've seen, Scarecrow's dummies and all this stuff that's going on, but until now, they've been assuming that Scarecrow probably died in A Day. And now we have an actual sighting that Barbara has. So I think that will indicate a more plot-centric element in what Barbara's going to be doing going forward. Now, I could be wrong. She could continue being the Barbara Gordon who Googles. But I hope that Tynion has integrated, because it feels like a transhumanist, really technological entity that Batman struggles with would be a really perfect place for Oracle and Batgirl to really have a thematic connection to, because she is so technologically gifted and understanding. But so far, they haven't really intersected yet, so hopefully we'll see her actually acting in a plot-relevant way rather than a sort of fun character cameo type way. What do you think of our brand new character, Miracle Molly, and her philosophy of transhumanism without past?
So, I really liked her. I don't know if it's just because she was so chill, or she was like, here, I'll just tell you everything. I'm not hiding anything. She reminded me a lot of Carly Morgenthau from Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's like, here you have sort of this terrorist who you kind of agree with. You're like, no, that's cool. You got it. You go, girl. Her outfit's growing on me. I love that it doesn't match her personality at all. Like, she's just completely level-headed and chill and clinically detached. And I don't know. I really like that. And I think that wanting to start over without your past is something a lot of people probably want. I mean, I think it's not facing your fears and it's not very healthy, but I could see how it's definitely a draw for people. I don't know. I liked her.
For a first appearance, I was quite impressed as well. The picture I kept getting as far as who I see her to be as a character is more of an anti-hero than Harley could ever be. You could see that she's in this for a very valid reason. She's not truly taking sides other than against the rich, but she has some true good intentions in what and why she does what she does. So I was quite impressed with that.
I'm glad you guys had this more positive interaction with Miracle Molly. I also did. But a lot of people I've been talking to found her kind of weird or off-putting. They thought the issue was too talky. And I'll grant you, this is a very talky issue, for sure. But I like this kind of sort of exploration of philosophical ideas that also, it's really nicely constructed in terms of integrating a transhumanist philosophy with something that really clashes with Batman. Because Batman is so, in some ways, trapped by his past. He's imprisoned in his grief and his trauma because of his parents' murder. And Miracle Molly is someone who's deliberately completely destroyed her past. She's completely erased it from who she is. And this is something that Bruce has actually tried to do twice during Snyder's run. He tried to erase his memory in Zero Year, And then his memory was actually erased when he was resurrected with the fake Lazarus pit in Super Heavy. And so I know that Tynan is very aware that you cannot have a Batman who erases his past, but he's holding out that as a tempting thing for Bruce, as something that maybe he could have. Maybe he could get rid of some of his pain. So I find that incredibly interesting. And I also find Miracle Molly a very engaging figure, even though I don't agree with her. I especially don't agree when she dehumanizes us. I think that rich people have ceased to become human. And I'm just like, okay, that's the recipe for, the French Revolution. And that led to nowhere good. Not again to justify.
Led to good musicals.
Yes, like the Scarlet Pimpernel.
That wasn't a musical.
It was, actually.
It was?
It was.
Oh, I need to find that.
You should check it out. It's got a great song called Madame Guillotine. But I think that we're going to see some really interesting things with Miracle Molly. My own theory, and I'd like to hear what my co-hosts think about where she's going. I think she thinks she's got it all figured out. She's got a purpose in life. She knows where she is, how she's part of this community. I think she's going to find out that something's wrong. And Batman's going to have to find out who she was and sort of try and integrate who she was with who she is now to try and stop what the Unsanity Collective is doing. What do you guys think about where Miracle Molly might be going?
I don't know. I didn't even think about that. When your villain isn't, I want riches, I want power, you need a little extra vocabulary. You need a little extra talking space. So yes, it's a little talky, but that's because this is a more complicated villain. Having a non-black and white logic villain, I think, is healthy for Bruce. I think seeing things that sometimes the villains have a point, or they have a valid complaint, or they have a valid reason for doing what it is they're doing. And so I think, especially when she says, I know you've already talked about it, but that when she says, aren't there some things in your past that, would just be better left there, or would you be here? Would you be here if you forgot some of the things in your past? And he just kind of looks at her, but I think it's interesting. It's making him think, and it's not just this is a villain, beat them up, this is the end. This is someone who's trying to do the right thing. Yes, her he's totally jacked up, even though it's very hard to think about it sometimes. Rich people are human beings too. Just because you have a grievance against some of them doesn't mean they're not people. And just because they don't treat you like people doesn't mean they're not people, which is also very hard to deal with. So yeah, I think her philosophy is probably going to be, she's going to question it herself. And I think she and Bruce are probably going to go on a bit more of a philosophical journey.
And she is quite formidable. I mean, to realize that Matches is Batman, takes a lot. Now, granted, she had a good reason considering she recognized the voice that he couldn't hide. But I think she will be quite formidable. But at some point, something's going to go down between those two, because if I can remember, there is no mention of her at all in Future State. So that means she's not gonna make it. So that's my theory, which is probably wrong. But since Ian asked, I had to think of something.
The fact that she figured out he wasn't Matches and that he was Batman was pretty great, because I forgot how the last issue ended, and I spent the first few panels of this issue going, "Why is James Gordon locked up by these people, and why does he have tattoos all over him? What's up with that crazy jacket?" Oh, that's Matches. Has Matches always been a redhead?
No.
No, okay.
No, he's usually sort of like dirty brown with a bunch of scruffy hair. The glasses are very Matches Malone, though.
But I thought that was James Gordon for way too long. It was embarrassing.
I loved the fact that Tynan brought Matches Malone, but also sort of updated him for the cyberpunk. I just thought that was clever, and it was fun, and it worked because Bruce, there's so much observation of Bruce. The big enforcer guy was like, this guy's pure muscle, he's dangerous, and like, yeah, he's Batman. And Miracle Molly sees that he's wearing a disguise instantly, and I just love that because I think it's thoughtful writing. It makes me sort of believe the world and believe the characters.
Yeah, but he did look a little too Jim Gordon-y for me.
I did.
Yeah, well, it's New 52 Jim Gordon, so I don't accept that anymore now that we have gray Jim Gordon back.
Hence, I was extra confused.
One last note I wanted to mention before we get to the Ghost Maker backup story is we have a mention of Chase Meridian on the TV from the Batman Forever movie, played by Nicole Kidman. And of the 4 movies that came before Batman Begins, Batman Forever is actually my favorite of the 90s. I know Stella prefers Batman and Robin, and of course Batman 89 and Batman Returns are very popular, but I have a soft spot for Batman Forever.
Oh, God.
And my co-hosts are instantly quitting in protest at my terrible, terrible taste.
Oh, Val Kilmer.
Oh, man, Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer has the most recognizable lips under the cowl, I think.
Schumacher. Oh.
Hey, the nipples weren't till the next movie.
The next movie.
Joe Schumacher, he just that franchise could have been great had they not brought in Joel Schumacher. So, yeah. That's okay, Ian. You're wrong, but that's okay.
Oh, I freely admit I'm wrong. I just enjoy it the most.
Michael Keaton's supposed to be in the Flashpoint movie, right?
I have heard that. I don't trust anything until I see a trailer, but I have heard that.
Supposedly his agent confirmed it.
Right, but like things fall apart all the time, so I'm not going to trust anything till I see it in a trailer or the movie itself. All right, so let's move on to our Ghostmaker backup. Pretty short one this time.
Ghostmaker Chapter 2, written by James Tynion IV, art by Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. On Devil Skull Island, Ghostmaker destroys the laser tigers and calls out Madame Midas. Kid Kawaii reveals her history as an assassin robot who fought Ghostmaker while failing to kill the Prime Minister of Japan, where he turns the Tokyo Tower into an electromagnet but refuses to destroy Kimmy out of compassion.
How does the battle of Ghostmaker and Kid Kawaii, aka Tiny T-1000 from Terminator 2, work for you?
I don't know. I thought it was weird they're doing a flashback. I guess I was figuring this was a lot shorter, like all the other backups we've been getting, but I guess if this is a long haul one, having a bit of a flashback is okay. But she is so icky. Like it's like watching Clayface fight, and I don't know. I wasn't a super fan. I thought Kid Kawaii would be more like what's her name from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie? The Japanese girl with the robot. She was cool. This girl is really creepy. So I thought that was kind of fun that she's called Kid Cute, Kid Kawaii, but she's not. She's got the crazy fangs and the slime body. I don't know. If she's a robot, I just don't see how she can have too much of a personality, especially or not personality, but like something to feel sorry for. I mean, just because she looks like a child. I mean, that's how she was designed, and she's reprogrammed and her memory wiped every once in a while. Like, I don't get how they're gonna try to make her good. I don't know what their plan is for her. I was confused. That would be the safest thing to say. I was very confused.
There was nothing in this chapter that would pique my interest to want to know more of this story. I was not interested in Ghostmaker after the first chapter, and this doesn't help. Yeah, T1000, Clayface, whoever. Again, not impressive, creepy, confusing, all of that good stuff. But I don't know. It just it amazes me because I kind of feel the same way when looking at the Joker. How we can get such a great story in the main book, but the backup from the same writer just seems to not do it for me, and this story doesn't either. Laser tigers and things like that. I mean, I'm sure that'll piss Peter off. So JT might be getting a phone call soon or a letter. I don't know.
A tweet.
Or a few.
Well,
not for me.
I think that it's interesting. You're kind of leading into my next question, because there's not a whole lot of questions I have about this. I thought it was clever. I kind of liked it because the first issue, this is the second issue, but the first issue of Ghostmaker was kind of, oh, look at how amazingly smart and powerful Ghostmaker is. But this issue gave him a heart. He had compassion for this really terrifying and kind of evil little robot. And that, to me, actually gave him a lot more depth than last issue's, oh, I have sex and plan stuff on a plane, and then I jump out of the plane and fight lasers. Like, that was just a little too silly for me. But him fighting a monstrous robot and recognizing that the robot has been programmed by evil people, and he wants to see if that robot can change, can develop into something better for itself and for other people. I don't know. It makes it clearer to me why Batman was friends with Ghostmaker, something that a lot of people thought was too abrupt. But if you see this kind of compassion from Ghostmaker, it kind of shows you why Bruce might connect to whatever Ghostmaker's real name is.
It was one time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're still developing the story of Ghostmaker.
Yeah, it did seem a little weird. In fact, I think that's one thing that confused me was it seemed to contradict everything we'd known about him so far. But that you make a good point, is if he's multi-layered, maybe one of those layers isn't as awful as the rest of him.
So that leads us to the second question I have about this story. Who do you think the audience for this Ghostmaker backup is? Like, if you created a reader based on how you read this, like, who would really love this? What would that reader be?
I think I know where you're going with this question. In fact, I know where you're going with this question. But I don't know. 15-year-old boys, I guess. Because you got the killing room, kind of cool guy who kills laser tigers with other laser tigers. Just runs his suit at 200% power, because that's the thing. I have no clue. People who like over-the-top excitement. 15-year-old boys.
If this story was in black and white and read from right to left, this would be a perfect manga. I mean, because the art style is that to a T, with the exception that it has colors laid on top. So it definitely could look like something a manga fan would want to pick up.
But as a manga fan myself, I like plot. I like things that make sense.
Well, but remember that manga is it's a medium, and there's genres. So what I was getting at is that this is, I think, very much trying to be shoujo. Manga aimed at young boys or teen boys with a horror flavor. I mean, the kid kawaii is very, very gross and creepy, like a lot of manga villains. And I think that James Tynion in his newsletters has really talked about how he wants to try and change comics and bring in new readers. And I think he's trying deliberately to connect to that audience that likes the kinds of things featured in shoujo manga. Sorry, not shonen.
No,
shonen manga.
Shonen. Yep.
Yeah. And the thing about shonen is it's really popular, not just with young boys. Of course, that's the primary audience, but there's plenty of girls who love shonen, and there's plenty of, people of all different races and ages who love the kind of things like Naruto and One Piece and so forth. I am unfortunately not one of them, so this doesn't really appeal to me, but I appreciate that he is trying to give us a new flavor, while still, I think, connected to the world of Batman. All right, so let's give Batman number 108 a rating out of 5 Miracle Molly gliders, the thing that she and Batman ride on in this issue.
I'll give it a 3. The art is spectacular. It's looking really kind of cool and futuristic in a fantasy sense. I really hope that's not what the future really looks like. I like the care Tynion's taken into Molly's character and her opinions and her philosophy. It's not just slapdash together. We didn't really talk about it, but Mahoney, Peacekeeper 1's very, very quick seduction to the dark side. Didn't take much.
Well, we actually have a comment about Mahoney in The Joker, where Jim Gordon says he denied Mahoney entrance to the GCPD. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's always been a darkness to him that Tynion's been seeding in.
Oh, yeah. Yes. But then again, that's all this like care to storytelling. This is not just where did that come from? That makes no sense. Like all of these things are in all seated everywhere. And so I just like the care he's taking into telling the story, even though I did not like Kid Kawaii. I do appreciate the craft that went into that story, and it is also very pretty. So I would say a good, healthy 3 for the whole book.
So I am going to pull a Ian and Steph. This is not quite a 3.5. I think 3 is too low, so I will give it a 3.25.
I actually like this a lot better than the last couple of issues. Or maybe at least the last issue. I can't remember what I gave it, but I feel like I probably gave it a 3.5. So I'm going to give this a 3.75 because I really like Miracle Molly. I really like the ideas that she's playing with, that Tynion's using to bring depth to Batman. And I appreciate, even if I don't really love, what he's doing with the backup. I thought that it gave another layer that the first issue didn't. So it's bumping up a little bit for me. So our average score is a 3.33.
Whether you are a first-time TBU Comics podcast listener, a 13-year veteran, or anything in between, we'd love to hear what you think about this episode or any of the comics we discussed. Send emails to tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net. Join our Discord server linked at thebatmanuniverse.net. Send us a tweet at TBU_comics. Or, if you're a patron, leave us a comment on our Patreon page. We'd also love it if you left us a review on iTunes. We'd love to read your comments on the next episode of the Batman Universe Comics Podcast. Batman may claim he works alone, but we know that he needs the Bat Family. Join the TBU Bat Family and let us know what you think.
Coming back for our review of The Joker number 3, written by James Tynion IV, drawn by Guillaume March, colored by Arif Pinto. Jim Gordon's mind goes back to the Killing Joke, the absolute horror and pain he felt, and still feels lingering, despite his resilience. He meets Cressida at the plane, heading to Belize, with a mysterious, huge, and masked pilot who says not a word. He texts Babs goodbye as Oracle and Spoiler analyze the data from the trackers that Cass has planted on the plane and Cressida's car. As he flies, Jim details his theories of being a good detective and how hunting Joker has to be different, as we see the cannibals kill on their own flight and Vengeance, Daughter of Bane, on a huge Santa Priscan battleship. In Belize, Jim pounds the pavement, hits bars, all the classic detective things, finding the clues that point him toward the Joker's hideout in the mountains. Jim thinks his next stop is just another clue hunt, but the Joker opens the door with a lot of armed men behind him, greeting him like an old friend. He says that someone else framed him for A-Day, and now extremely powerful criminals are coming for him right now. And the Joker bursts into his trademark laughter with guns drawn, as Jim facepalms. So I'm going to ask the same question I did about Batman. How do you think that James Tynion is employing Barbara, but with the addition of Stephanie and Cassandra, in this issue of his comic?
Very much the same, but I do want to say that they exist. And they're doing things, and they're being acknowledged, which makes it so much easier to bring them in a bigger role later. Whereas if you've been kind of doing what was done before, where they either didn't exist or weren't acknowledged, it's like it's impossible to introduce them to your story. So even though they're kind of on the back burner right now, they're still there and they're still being brought to mind. So I think he's got plans for them. I think something is going to happen with the Batgirls, because they're really making sure that they are ever present, even if they're just small fries right now.
Yeah, I'll say about the same. I'm not gonna comment too much on Steph and Cass, because other than a few words, you don't get much out of them. But I do think that Barbara may play a bigger role in this story than she does in Batman, simply because, this is her dad that's out there, and, he know who she is, and she has this promise with him to always keep in check. So I think she'll definitely play a bigger role in this story than we'll see her play in Batman.
I really like this one because we see her actually taking action in a very Oracle way. She has her agent, Cass, in the field, and she has Steph, and she's sort of training her up in analysis. And I really love the way that Guillaume March and Art Pinto drew and colored these characters. They looked awesome. So, big fan of how Babs was used here, even though, of course, it was just for a couple of pages. And also a big fan of Steph and Cass. They looked awesome, and I'm just really happy to see them popping up all the time in really important books like Joker and Batman.
My only thing, and again, this is not a complaint about the art, because the art was absolutely great, but I don't know, for some reason, every time I look at Cressida, I just see an older Steph. I don't know why.
Most artists have kind of a problem when drawing characters that aren't directly based on recognizable actors or people they know. They have kind of a default face for handsome man and a default face for pretty woman.
And
that, I mean, if you look at most artists, this is just the way it is. They have their default face, and most of their faces are some kind of variation on the default.
Again, Archer.
It's just the way that art works. We have a thing that we get comfortable with, and I think a lot of artists try and go for face reference to try and escape that tendency, but it's difficult because unless the face you're referencing is your own, it's difficult to get someone willing to make all the faces and poses and angles that you need for a comic.
Yeah, but for someone like me who will quickly throw out theories, even if they make no sense, I will quickly say that there's a connection between those two, even though I know there's not.
You think this is Crystal Brown?
It's someone. It's awesome. A quarter.
I mean, Tynion has been saying that one of the characters from Talon, which was also drawn by Guillaume March, has a character in this Joker series. So maybe it's Cressida. I personally think it's going to be that pilot, that big hulking guy, because either he's going to be Bane, who's recovering from the attack, or it's going to be a Talon. And since we know Cressida is an owl, I think a Talon makes a lot of sense.
As long as it's not Lincoln.
Oh gosh, I hope not. I hate Lincoln so much at this point. were you surprised that the Joker claims he didn't do A-Day, and do you believe him?
No, I think they've been building that up this whole time. So it wasn't a surprise, especially when Gordon's like, why did you do that? And it just was so Joker to be like, well, Jimmy boy, I didn't. No, I thought that whole scene was great. What was your second question?
Do you believe him?
Oh, yeah, totally. No, I think he's all about taking credit for things. I don't think the Joker lies when it's funny, and I don't think he's amused right now. This isn't funny to him. I don't think he's lying.
Yeah, agreed. Surprised? Most definitely not. Do I believe him? Yeah. To coin a phrase from Endgame, not to go into the Marvel universe too much, but if there's one thing about the Joker with regards to lying, he doesn't do it unless it absolutely benefits him, and this doesn't. You can easily see from the first issue with all of the clues that were laid out after A-Day that this was a frame job. From the fact that the Joker toxin was utilized, but not one person laughed as they died. That's clearly not Joker there. So, no, not surprised at all that he's claiming that he didn't do it, and I most definitely believe that he didn't do it either.
Yeah, I just echo my co-hosts. I've been thinking that this didn't feel like a Joker attack for a while, and I think that it's pretty funny that in issue 3, Joker's like, totally didn't do it.
How many issues is it?
I mean, this isn't ongoing. I personally think Tynan has said he's got a 3-year plan for the title for both Batman and Joker. I think Joker's probably going to last either 1 year or 2 years. I don't think Tynan's going to be able to get to 3. But that means we get at least 12 issues. Probably more, but we'll see. I don't actually know how it's selling because it's such a new title. We don't have any indication. Plus, the first issue is going to be so ridiculous with all the variant covers and the first issue speculation. So we won't really know until like 3 months from now how it's really selling. Do you have a theory about the huge man? Do you think that the Bane theory or the Talon theory or a completely different theory is right for the huge bandaged man?
I think that's Bane. I think we had the little preview. What was that? There was some anthology something where we got a bunch of mini stories.
Warzone.
And there was the what?
It was Warzone.
Yeah, Warzone. Was it Warzone? I don't know. And Joker went and taunted Bane. So I think there's super bad blood between Bane and Joker, and I think that's Bane.
Until it's proven otherwise, that's Bane. I just can't see, considering the story we did get in Warzone between those two, that Bane will just all of a sudden be dead. I just can't see it. Matter of fact, considering Joker wasn't responsible for A-Day, yet there's a body that's supposed to be Bane hanging there, I would assume that it was Bane's work that did it, and he's gonna make his reveal at some point. But until it's proven otherwise, that big muscular guy isn't Bane, it's Bane. And I may just refer to him as Bane from now on.
I don't know. I was originally thinking it was Bane because I'm firmly convinced that Bane's not dead. However, with the reveal that Cressida is an owl, the Talon thing does seem real appealing. So I will not be surprised if it's either of those things. But it could be something else. I really think both of those make too much sense for one of them not to be true. When do you think the Joker became who he is today? He was much more of a clown, almost like Clue Master, someone who would pull funny pranks. And I remember reading a little book based on the Batman 66 TV show where Joker pulled a kidnap and put in a deadly game show type thing because it was funny. But these days he's very much the avatar of evil and chaos. And where do you really think that happened?
That's for y'all to discuss. I don't know too much about. I just came in during Rebirth, and I know just a little bit about what Snyder did with Joker, which was all really, really nasty. But I just don't know if that's where it started. Well, no, I guess he beat Jason to death, and was that in the 80s?
He did that for fun too.
He did that for fun. So that's the total of my knowledge of Joker's ickiness.
For poops and giggles. Sadistic Joker, for me, I think you started seeing seeds of it probably in No Man's Land for me. I'm not gonna go through. I mean, we can always throw in Killing Joke and those stories, but as far as main series, main continuity, even though Killing Joke is in continuity, I think as we see how things start to occur in No Man's Land forward, he becomes this avatar of evil that we all know today. And I'm not going to include Snyder's run simply because I don't count that.
I think that Joker first had the real hints of darkness in the 70s with Denny O'Neil. Denny O'Neil was very much trying to bring Batman out of the Batman 66 sort of campy, silly tone. And he wrote a Joker ongoing series. It only lasted 8 issues. And he had a lot of Comics Code Authority things that meant he couldn't do a lot of things. But he definitely tried to make it more serious. And Steve Englehart's run on Detective Comics, Strange Apparitions, I think, has a very dark Joker with the Joker fish that have become so famous. So a lot of people point to the late 80s and early 90s with The Killing Joke and A Death in the Family. But I think it really was starting before that. There was a lot of darkness in the 70s in the comics. And that was more realized than created in the dark age of the 80s.
See, I'm going to have to go back and read that Joker stuff because and you mentioned it, I kind of thought and remembered that the comic code really put a tight lip on those things occurring.
Well, he's not able to do the kinds of things that you might see, but he's got an edge to him that you don't associate with someone like, the Batman 66 or even Batman the Animated Series Joker, which is kind of a throwback because he's a lot lighter. There's just a sense of menace that I get from 70s Joker. And then, of course, what Theo was mentioning about Scott Snyder, I will go into a little bit because Scott Snyder's Joker is not the same Joker that you saw before that. Scott Snyder's Joker is his own creation, and there's a reason that Scott Snyder's Joker sounds exactly like the Batman Who Laughs, because it's the same thing. Scott Snyder writes comics about things that he fears. He's very open about how the themes and the villains that he's dealing with are things that he thinks are really scary. And I think it's very clear at this point that Scott Snyder fears white-faced, possibly masked, mysterious, powerful characters who represent chaos and order. Speaking here of both the Joker and the Court of Owls. This is not the Joker of the pre-Flashpoint era or the pre-Crisis era. This is a philosophical Joker. It's a Joker who is obsessed with the Batman in a way that doesn't fit his obsession. You have the classic Return of the Joker, Batman Beyond movie, which says that Joker's obsessed with Batman because Batman won't laugh at him. There's no hint of that in Scott Snyder's Joker. Scott Snyder's Joker wants Batman to join him in a possibly romantic, but possibly just sort of nihilistic self-annihilation. Are you very upset about my Batman Joker romantic hint?
Just nightmares, man, nightmares.
I don't disagree. I 100% agree, but I want to be forthcoming. I want to try and be as honest about what I think Snyder's doing. And I really think that's what he's doing, because if you look at his story, Batman, Dark Knight, The Last Night on Earth. Oh, the Last Night on Earth, his 3-issue miniseries for Black Label. The Joker, for some reason, decides to become a hero with Batman. And I think that's because he realizes Batman's never going to join him. And I reject that completely, because I don't think that the Joker has that kind of obsession. But of course, Scott Snyder is an insanely best-selling comics writer, one of the best-selling of all time, and certainly of the last 15, 20 years. So clearly more people agree with him than me. But I'm here, and I'm saying that I think that it is a destructive way to look at Batman and Joker, to have that be the core. And I prefer what Tynan's doing, where the Joker is evil, and is in many ways the avatar of evil, but he's not the same kind of fear. He's much more grounded in the history of the gags. I mean, the very fact that A-Day is not Joker is something I think that Tynan would do and Snyder would not.
I am happy that he is not writing Joker to be completely as an equal to Batman. Because I know in the past writers have done that, that he's the polar opposite. And I don't always take that stance. I don't always take the stance that Batman has a opposite, a exact opposite. But I do appreciate how he's presenting him now. He is, again, very formidable. Batman's most gruesome arch nemesis, but I don't get the sense that JT is trying to make him Batman's opposite but equal.
What was your favorite moment of the Joker number 3?
Definitely not the beginning. Just because flashbacks. So it wasn't bad. It's just icky Joker. I think I just really like the ending where everyone it's like the climax of an action movie. Like all of the baddies are coming in, they're congregating in the same moment. James thinks he's just gonna chill, find another witness to talk to, and suddenly he's in the middle of a 3-way battle. It's fantastic, and it's definitely setting up for some fun action next time.
I didn't have a favorite. I enjoyed all of it, including the Killing Joke flashback, but that's the old guy in me. But I did get a pretty good snicker when Jim pulling the face palm at the end of the story.
There are so many great moments. I have to pick Barbara leading Stephanie and Cassandra in tracking down Cressida. I just love the way that Tynan wrote that, the connection between the 3 characters and between Barbara and James. There's just so much relationally going on there. And the way I am loving Guia March's art, and I am so happy that he's getting this kind of serious work on the Bat family again after Gotham City Sirens. Of course, it's such a landmark series for him. Stephanie just looks so cool with her bat symbol on her spoiler outfit, and I'm just here for it. But there's so many great moments. I mean, just the monologue that Jim goes on about the different detective techniques that he uses and how Joker's different than that. That ending is fantastic with the facepalm and the just manic energy. This comic is so good. But I'm of course picking the Oracle and her Batgirls moment as my favorite. Let's move on to the Punchline backup. This is, of course, written by James Tynan and Sam Johns, with art by Mirka Andolfo. At Snyder College, Aiden, Punchline's friend, shows Harper one of their old lairs, claiming he's going to burn it all. In Blackgate, the Queen of Spades tells Orca to beat Punchline, which she does in a brutal cell fight, smashing Punchline's face with a sink. Meanwhile, Aiden drugs Harper with a paralytic and plans to burn her alive. Question. There's really not a whole lot of questions because this is just another little chapter in the ongoing Punchline saga. But did what happened to Punchline and Harper surprise you in this issue?
I was a little surprised. I wanted to believe in Aiden. I wanted him to be another one of Punchline's victims, but he just turned out to be another acolyte. And so I think my not being completely invested in this story and wanting to believe in the poor little emo kid, I was taken a little back by what he decided to do at the end.
I was not that surprised by what happened to Harper because Punchline is a dangerous foe, and I think that if Harper had just faced another victim, it wouldn't have the same punch that I think this story should have and does have at its best moments. I was surprised that Punchline got taken out by Orca. I thought she would take her down, but I guess throwing a challenge for our evil villain protagonist character kind of gives it more tension. I mean, of course, this is only the third issue of the story, and if Punchline is just beating everyone every issue, that's not going to be super interesting as a narrative. So I appreciate that Tynan didn't have Punchline just roll over Tynan and Johns. Sorry, I don't mean to omit Johns, because I think Johns is actually the one writing most of the actual dialogue. Johns and Tynan are plotting together.
I would not be surprised if this is all a setup, meaning Punchline is planning for this. And the notion that she gets the crap beat out of her is just another part of her plan to psych the masses and get more people on her side.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think you're probably right. I think Punchline is smart enough to know that to at least use it. I don't know if she could have beaten Orca, but I do think she's definitely going to spin it to her advantage. Maybe get herself put in solitary where she can sort of pretend to be more appealing to her audience. How do you think you want to rate the Joker number 3 out of 5 Orca beatdowns?
I'll give it a 4. It's just very intense and very interesting. And as much as I'm not loving the backup, I don't think it's dragging it down too horribly much.
That's where we kind of differ. It's 3.5 for me, and it's not a 4 simply because I just can't find it in myself to have any interest in the Punchline story right now. It's just not interesting to me.
I am also giving it a 4. This is my favorite title at DC, and Theo is very disappointed in me, and if I had looked at myself 6 months ago, I would have also been very disappointed in me as well. But I cannot deny I've got a Jim Gordon book. Yes, it's called Joker. Joker's in it, but it also has Oracle and Steph and Cass as field agents of Oracle with bats on their chests. This is a great title, and I love it. And I like the backup too. I like the art. I like the characterization. I like the world building and the depth it gives. I just like backups too. I should mention that I am in favor of backups, so that's going to be a positive for me most of the time. So that gives us an average score of 3.85 with a mode of 4. So let us move on to Greater Gotham. We have Festival of Heroes, which had 4 stories that directly connect to the Batman universe. Masks by Ram V and Audrey Mock about Leon Harper, going by Shoes, one of Catwoman's strays. And it's going to directly tie into what's going on in Catwoman, and also probably an ongoing Green Arrow series that I think is going to come out probably in the fall, maybe later, but Joshua Williamson's been making a lot of noise about Green Arrow. Sounds, which was probably the star piece in this, which was a Cassandra Cain Batgirl story And this is set during her days as Batgirl in the early 2000s, because Barbara is in a wheelchair as Oracle. This is by Mariko Tamaki as writer and Marcus To artist. And I want to give a little fun behind-the-scenes tidbit. I am friends on Discord with a professional artist who is friends with Marcus To. And he's been sort of hanging out with Marcus To online and saw some of the early art for this story. And Babs's wheelchair had handles on it. And I saw that when my friend was talking to me, and I said, no handles. And he conveyed that to Marcus To, and Marcus To quickly erased those handles in the art. So I feel very proud that I stood up for Oracle and her no-handle wheelchair, which is one of her trademarks.
That's awesome.
We have What's in the Box, written and illustrated by Dustin Nguyen. This is a quick story about Cassandra Cain and Colin, who is also known as Abuse, from the Streets of Gotham series by Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen. I think this is probably set during the Streets of Gotham days, the Batman Incorporated days. But it could be today. We just haven't seen Colin anytime since Streets of Gotham. We also had Special Delivery, which is a Damian Wayne story by Aziz Ansari, one of the actors from Parks and Rec, and Sami Basri, who was an artist on Harley Quinn for a long time, and I love his art. So let's do a quick rundown. There were, of course, about 4 or 5 other stories, but these are the Batman universe stories. So let's talk about Festival of Heroes. What stories did you like?
Downs was really cute. I really liked Cass's characterization and her talking to herself and why she doesn't use words, but also, trying and chasing down the victim at the end just to, have a one-word conversation. I thought that was adorable. The Damien story was awful. It was so disappointing. I don't even want to talk about it. I mean, the art was fun, I guess, but it was a bad story. Damien is poorly characterized and poorly written, and the ending is stupid. The Cheshire one was cute. I like that it wasn't Cheshire herself, because she's not a hero; she's a villain. And the end was cute with Catwoman kind of pretending to be Batman and then them laughing at him. I thought that was cute. And the Dustin Nguyen story was too short. Oh, my poor heart couldn't take how short it was. It needed to be at least 100 pages longer. Oh, it was so good.
100 pages? Oh my goodness.
100 pages. We need more of Damien's OG best friend. I love Jonathan, but Colin is too cute, and bao buns are delicious. Oh, spoiler, that's what's in the box. Now, I thought all of them except the Damien one were really, really good, which is just tragic.
Tell me about it. So, I am very sad to say that I did not read the Damien story, but considering all of the congratulations I've gotten from my co-host and others for not subjecting myself to that mess, I consider myself lucky. I definitely loved both of the cast stories. I thought they were both very well done. But I will just say, the more I see Mariko Tamaki write, not just Batman, but the Bat family, the more I want her to have a Bat family book, because she just seems to have a good voice for any of the characters that appear on a page that she's writing for. And I just absolutely love what she did with Cass and Babs in that story. So that was my favorite of the issue.
I think that Sounds by Tamaki and To is my favorite as well. I am slightly biased because Marcus To is one of my favorite artists of all time. And he's really actually developed a bit. This is a lot more detail and shading than he's done in the past. So it's really gorgeous art. And Tamaki does a great job of structuring the story and giving it a real nice twist and emotional component. What's in the box? I mean, Dustin Nguyen writing Cass and Colin. I can't say much more than I don't know if I'd say I want 100 pages, but I would love 22 pages of this. The Damien story just, it was so obviously it was written by someone who doesn't know anything about Damien other than like reading an encyclopedia entry. There was no real specifics. There was no real story. This was just kind of like, I am Damien, hear me roar. And I was, okay. I thought Masks was really cool, and I'm very excited to see where Leon Harper goes in Catwoman. A lot of it's actually been kind of controversial because a lot of people were attached to Leon as a very small child, and making her an older child with a sort of darker flavor to her, so she's not cute and sweet anymore, is controversial. But I think that it's a good thing because it means that she'll get a story and isn't just someone to be used to make Roy sad when she dies. So, moving on to Urban Legends number 3, we had a Red Hood story continued by Chip Zdarsky, Eddie Barrows, and Marcus Toe. A Lady Shiva story by Chi Grayson and Alberto Alquerque. The Outsiders by Brandon Thomas, which sadly, I thought that was going to get one more installment, but this is the last installment. And Grifter, which unfortunately is not ending. It's by Matt Rosenberg, and it's not bad, but I'm just like, why is this the story that gets to keep going? Because I was really loving Outsiders. But there is a strong hint that we're going to get an Outsiders story coming in the fall, and hopefully that's by Brandon Thomas. Because I was really loving this Outsiders stuff that he did with Future State, and then again with this Batman Urban Legends anthology story. So what do you guys think of Urban Legends number 3?
I didn't love the Shiva one. I thought that one was weird. It's just the little nitpicky details, like why is Bruce telling her that the shades and the lights give off the correct symbols to the neighbors, yet he's walking around in his bat suit bleeding all over the carpet. That was dumb. And then she's attacking him with a knife, and then they're having this heart-to-heart. Oh, no. It wasn't my favorite. I'm sure it was meant to be, like, redemptive or something, but it was the details. The demon was in the details in that one for me, which is not usually the type of reader I am, I don't think. I liked Red Hood. I liked Red Outsiders. I liked Outsiders. Grifter is starting to bother me. His charm has worn off. I am no longer on Team Grifter, and he can go away now. I'll be okay.
I was never on Team Grifter.
I know. I was alone. It was a very lonely team.
Go away. I am excited to get Outsiders in the fall. It better be Brandon Thomas or I'm going to be very upset.
Same.
I just need to know who that 5th member is going to be. Ian and I, off mic, had some conversations as to who we thought that 5th person might be. I do not think it's going to be Cass. I think Cass is heading to Batgirls. That we better get an announcement after the Batgirl story from Marguerite Bennett. But I am very excited to see that story come back in the fall. I've enjoyed everything Brandon has done with Outsiders, whether it's in current continuity or with Future State. Brandon Thomas has just done an outstanding job, and I can't wait to see more Outsider stuff come from him. That Shiva story was just bad. That was not typical Shiva in my eyes. I mean, suicide by Batman. Come on, really? That was not good.
And then he accidentally stabbed her. I was like, no, Batman wouldn't accidentally stab anyone right in the stomach. Whatever.
It just was not a good story at all. The voice wasn't Shiva. It just, I don't know. Yeah, and of course, I've enjoyed the Jason story from the beginning. I like the voice that we're getting from him. But definitely give me more Outsiders, please.
I tend to agree with my co-hosts. I wasn't really on Team Grifter, and so if it's been like 2 or 3 parts, I probably wouldn't be quite as frustrated, but this is a 5-part story. Shiva was a massive disappointment. This was such shallow writing for Batman and Shiva. There was a couple of good things that were integrated. You've got some stuff about Steph, Cass, and Duke sort of taking care of each other, being friends, and that was nice, but Shiva was bad. It was just bad. Red Hood, of course, continues to be quite good. It avoids some of the things I was worried about. Jason does take responsibility for screwing up and killing the bad man. So that was good. Overall, it continues to be a pretty decent anthology series. We also had Future State Gotham #1. This is a continuation by Josh Williamson and a new co-writer, plus the same artist who did the Red Hood story with Josh Williamson. And it ties together all the threads. And I was really excited because in the last page we had Nightwing, Spoiler, and someone I think is probably Duke because he's got a sword on his back, but he was in the background, meeting with Jason. And so I think next issue we're going to get some Bat Family interaction. This is fun. It's black and white. Did you, my co-host, read it?
I read it. Oh, I really liked this one. I like that it's not necessarily tying some loose threads, but it's playing with the threads that were left loose in Future State, showing a bit more why Jason's there. I think it's so. The one thing I'll say that is so stupid is his secret clandestine meeting with the unnamed person down the alley that he doesn't face, so they have to yell at each other down the alley. So it's like anyone nearby is going to hear your entire conversation. But whatever. It's silly. But yes, excited about Bat Family coming up. And then I didn't get the backup. It was a little too gothic noir horror for my flavor. But whatever. And it had nothing to do with anything. It was just page usage.
I was very impressed with the story. I was impressed with the book as a whole. I know when it was first announced, we all had some concern over the fact that it was going to be in black and white, but it was done very well. There was just the right amount of shading, so you could really distinguish everything throughout the pages. Again, it had that manga look to it, that anime type look to it. You know, there was a few of those panels where Jason actually looked like Shiro from Voltron, from the last Voltron cartoon that was on Netflix, and I don't know why that name just kept popping in my head every time I watched Jason. But I truly enjoyed the story, and you know, like we mentioned a long time ago, you know, this is going to be a Jason story where Jason is basically working undercover to undermine the magistrate, which I'm okay with.
Not to bring up something that has so little to do with anything, but you are so right. The white tuft, Jason hasn't had a white tuft in the comics in a long time, and it looks like they're bringing it back. And Shiro has a little white tuft in the front. And I think that's maybe where you're getting that. Yeah,
that was and that's exactly what made that name pop into my head, was that little white patch. And I'm like, why do they have him drawn like he's Shiro?
Because I think that's how he used to be. Because when all of your sons are, not all of them, Damien's technically not, but when all your sons are blue-eyed, white, black-haired boys, you need something to distinguish them. And Jason's little white tuft is very helpful.
Oh, I forgot to mention that Tim was also in that last scene. So, Robin.
Is that okay? Yeah. So I kind of, I was having trouble figuring out who was who or what gender they were.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was Tim or not.
Pretty sure it's Tim, just because it's following up from Future State. Maybe we'll get Darcy again. I like Darcy.
You're right. That's got to be Steph, because she's got the eye patch and the short hair.
Yep, it's definitely Steph.
Yeah, you're right.
Can I just say for the record, I don't like piratey-eyed Steph.
I don't like the fact that she's lost an eye. I'm always happy to see her. I just hope that she's written better than Batgirls.
And I need her with long hair again.
Yes,
also.
I do prefer her long hair. It feels like they made Harper Row into Steph for Future State, and I don't think it was a great choice.
Oh God, don't.
All right, moving on. We've got Batman Second Son #2, collecting digital issues 4 through 6. This is exploring more of the Fox family. We got Batwing going on a mission after Ratcatcher, and Tim/Jace doing a lot of new stuff with his family who's not accepting him. Again, this is the third Batman book. It is telling so much stuff about how Gotham is set up, Montoya, the police and the GCPD, the Fox family and the structure of the upper class, the people who are running Gotham. It's really fun. I am enjoying it.
I forgot to read it, but I skimmed it, and the art is awful. I don't know if it's the art
a digital
or
first weekly comic, and that's kind of what happens.
I mean, maybe it's the coloring that's so weird, but I just think I've seen fan art that's better than this. But
It's and this is no offense to the artist. And again, I say this as the person who reviews this book. It's amateurish. It's childish almost. It looked like something that you would see in the Sunday cartoon strip. And maybe I was, maybe I'm used to and spoiled by what we got from Nick Darrington and Laura Braga, but it is just okay. And just being okay just takes away from what has been a really good story from Ridley. Ian mentions how this plays into the overall Batman story. Second Son needs to be in your regular rotation with regards to Batman and Detective, because if you see a hole in one of the other books, you will find it in one of the other books, and that also applies to Second Son. Let me just say for the record, Mr. Ridley, I would like to apologize for all of my complaining with the next Batman in Future State. Don't take it personally. I take it all back. You've answered all of my questions. And Second Son, I just need you to finish it out. We got 2 more chapters to go. And I've been loving it ever since. I wish the story never ends. But unfortunately it will. But this story has been what I was looking for in Future State. And again, it just goes back to my original point that Future State should have been longer from the start. And the fact that we had to wait to get this story irks me, but I'm happy we got it. But please accept my apology, Mr. Ridley.
I stand by my criticisms of the next Batman, but I do think that this is a very rich story, and I'm enjoying it a whole lot more. Moving on to Batman the Detective #2 by Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert. I did not actually read this one, but my co-hosts did.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm interested to see where the story's going. I'm staying engaged. There's mystery and intrigue. It wasn't quite as depressingly sad as the first one, although those threads are still there. And yeah, I'm in for the long haul. I'm liking this story. Oh, and Mr. Ducard arrives and promptly leaves.
Yeah, it was a very good issue as well. I am interested to see where Tom Taylor goes with this. I know the reason why Ian didn't read it.
It's Tom Taylor.
But
it's also Andy Kubert. I'm not really a fan of Andy Kubert either.
Oh God. I will pray for you. And seeing that there are some plot holes, some good plot holes that needs to be answered, has me invested in the story going forward. So we will see what happens with the Bat people who kills all of the people that Batman has saved. And I'm gonna miss Ducard, but not too much. But I love Squire and I love Knight, although she's still stuck in a hospital bed. Get well soon.
And lastly, we have Batman Fortnite crossover issue 2. This comic is going to be so huge. So many people are coming in because Fortnite is such a big game. In this issue, it's mostly just Batman saving Catwoman, and the way they did it was really clever, and the relationship they did was nice. I don't know what's going to happen next. It's fun enough, but it feels just kind of trivial because you know it's going to get reset at the end. I can't see how they'd integrate it. If they do integrate it, I'll be impressed, but I just think it's going to kind of be a filler arc.
Do you remember that time, Catwoman, when we were stuck in that infinite loop and our minds were reset every 22 minutes? I was getting a little frustrated reading it, to be honest, just because that sounds like a living hell.
That's a video game for you.
Yeah.
Just constantly reset. You die. And you
yeah, no, duh. Which is helpful when it's a video game character, but when it's your favorite comic book character, you're like, oh no, are you okay?
Especially your favorite ship.
Yeah.
No, but I know what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next is I'm going to send another email to DC customer support because I haven't gotten my freaking code so I can load it into the game. DC, you're killing me. You're killing me. Please, just send me my code. Send me my code and I'll be happy until issue 3.
Well, I am happy that we've gotten through Greater Gotham. I think Greater Gotham might be a little too great right now. Support us on Patreon. You can help us keep the service on the air. We also have wonderful affiliate links that you can buy things from Amazon, Comixology, Lego, and all kinds of nerdy things, especially Batman stuff, of course. If you contribute on a certain level at Patreon, you'll be part of our Bat Fan Appreciation Wall, and that wall includes Gerald Green, Joshua Lappin Bertoni, Rob O, Real No Deuces, Tim Garassi, Robert Lewis, Ian Miller, Stephanie Mounts, Donovan Morgan Grant, Stanton's Grave, Donald Townsend, Ed Grouse, Brendan Roberts, Hannah Garr, Captain America, Mary Garrett, Austin Davis, Johnny McCloskey, and Cesar Diaz. Thank you all for helping us keep the servers open and our website running. One of my great joys, of course, is interacting with you on the Discord, so please go ahead and join that. We have lots of great conversations, including one where we all decided to just call ourselves different characters after a podcast dropped. Thank you for listening to the Batman Universe Comic Podcast. I've been your host, Ian, and my co-hosts are...
This is Steph.
And this is Theo.
And we'll be here in 2 weeks to cover Detective Comics and...
Double ship.
What is there? Oh, Robin, number 2. So, see us next time.